and welcome to Craft with Sarah and the final day of the Christmas craft countdown for 2021. I've been releasing a new craft every day for the past 20 days, and you can find them all at craftwithsarah.com/Christmas 2021. I thought we'd better end on something impressive, so I've taken a leaf, literally, out of this year's Halloween craft countdown, and I've done a matching project. So this is a wreath all made up from poinsettias, holly, mistletoe, and all sorts of Christmas flowers and other leaf decorations. 2 separate files are included in your download. The first is a pre-made design, so you can make one which looks exactly like mine. And the second is a DIY version, which has the wreath base all separate to the little pictures, so you can choose which ones you actually want to put on your wreath. For example, you might only want to have a wreath of holly, or maybe you want just poinsettias and no other leaves or anything. So it's entirely up to you how you decide to make the wreath. Let's find out how to download those files. First, you need to download the cutting file to make this project. If you aren't already signed up to the Christmas Craft Countdown, go to craftwithsarah.com/Christmas 2021 to join. If you have already purchased the countdown, go to craftwithsarah.com/login to log in to your account and access all of the Christmas Craft Countdown files. Once logged in, click into the Christmas Craft Countdown. Scroll down the page and all the files will become available on the date specified. The files do not expire, so you can download them at any time. The files for this project are under the Day 20 heading. After downloading the cutting files, you'll need to unzip the folder that they come in. If you aren't sure how to do that, check the link in the description of this video, which contains instructions on how to unzip folders on Windows computers, Macs, and Android and iPhone devices. There are 2 different versions of the SVG included in your download folder. The first is a DIY version, which looks like this. So when you upload it, you have the wreath completely separate to all of the flowers and the leaves. And this is so that you can create your very own design based on however you want it to look. So for example, you might want it to only have the flowers and nothing else, or maybe you don't want the flowers at all and you just want to fill it with the holly and the other leaves. I have another video on how to make your own DIY wreath. And that's because I made a very, very similar design to this for the Halloween craft countdown, which was full of sunflowers and autumn leaves and pumpkins and things. And in that video, I went through how to do the DIY section. So if you want to make your own and you'd like to watch a video on how to do it, visit the link in the description of this video and go and watch the other one, as it's exactly the same. The other version of the file that's included is this one, which is a pre-designed version. So if you'd rather just open it up and cut it out, this is the one that you want. It's still got all of the different layers, which you can see in the layers panel, but I've already positioned them so it's got the right amount of everything to cut out. When this file loads in, it might not come in at the right size, so it's really important to check the size before you start cutting it out. When you click the whole thing, you might notice that it's too big for the Cricut to cut. So this is currently showing at 13 inches. However, that's okay. All that really matters is that the base piece is okay to be cut on the Cricut, as that's the largest bit there is. So to find that, scroll all the way down in the layers panel, and then the very bottom layer is this base. And then have a look at the size, and the width should be under 11.5. So mine's currently 11.484, which is fine. And then the height is spot on 11.5, which is the maximum the Cricut can cut. If you found, so let's just make this bigger. If you found that it was too big, so I click it now and it says 13, that's going to be too big for the Cricut to cut. So you can just go in there, type in 11.5 and resize it. But the problem with that is that it was only that bottom layer that resized. So actually that doesn't work. Let's undo that. What you can do instead is click the whole thing. So we've got the whole group selected, and then drag it a little bit smaller. Click on that base layer. Have a look now. No, it's still too big. I need to make it even smaller. And just keep going until it's under that 11.5 inches for the width and the height. I believe you're looking for it to be, let's just check what mine was. So the whole thing should be about 13 inches wide, and then that should mean that your base layer is able to be cut. So go ahead, get it resized, cut everything out, and then I'll show you how to stick it together. I'm quickly showing you the finished poinsettia wreath because I want to just warn you of something that I forgot to do when I was making this. When I cut my wreath base, I'd forgotten to put the holes in the top so that I could hang it, which meant when I put it all together, I forgot to say in the video that before you stick anything on, you need to thread your twine through and tie it in a knot. Here's the matching wreath that I made in the Halloween craft countdown, and if I turn it over, you can see this has got 2 holes in it, and I tied the twine in there and just gave it a little bow on top before I stuck anything else to it. And that is what you should also do with this one. But because my test one didn't have the holes, I completely forgot about mentioning it. But yours will have the holes, so please, please, please put your twine or ribbon or whatever it is through those holes and tie it before you start sticking. Here are all of my pieces cut out and ready to stick together. I've already stuck some of the poinsettias and the holly, but I will show you with the last one how to stick all the layers together. Now, as I'm using the pre-made design, I've roughly placed the bottom leaves into position. You'll get a PDF printable guide when you download the file, which has some little pictures to show you where to put everything. So what I've got in front of me is this picture here with the little mistletoe bits, and also this one with the ferns and the little leaves. So I've just already placed them ready to be stuck. Now this is only a guide and you do not have to be completely perfect with how you place everything. It's really up to you where you want to put it. And if you're trying to follow the guide exactly but you go a little bit out on some of the pieces, it doesn't matter. It'll still look absolutely beautiful at the end. So before I stick any of the rest of the poinsettias together, I'm just going to glue all of this down roughly into these positions. And all of these layers I will glue, but of course if you wanted to you could add your foam pads. But as this is still kind of forming part of the base, I want mine to be quite flat, which is why I'm gluing it, and that'll make it easier to stick all the poinsettias on a little bit later. So I'm just going to start in a random place and glue these down. And I'm using Collal glue, which is what I use for most of my paper craft projects. And I really like how it works with cardstock because it doesn't bend or warp it like some other glues. And then I've put it in these tiny little bottles to make it easier to stick on all these little pieces. So I've just got to go through, and I'm trying not to put any glue on the bits that are going to overhang from my base. And we're not lining things up with the shapes of the flowers and the leaves on the base bit of yellow card. That's just there as kind of a guide. Not a guide. That was completely wrong. That's not there as a guide is what I meant to say. It's just there to add a little bit of interest to their outer line, but we're not actually lining stuff up against it. And you see, when I'm picking these up, I'm not putting them down in exactly the same place that I picked them up from. It'll be a little bit different. So that's kind of what I mean when I say you really don't need to be very precise on this. We've got so much to stick on it that it doesn't matter if you're a little bit out of kilter of what's on the assembly guide or the screen in Design Space. So I'm just going to very quickly stick the rest of these down, and then I'll show you how to put the poinsettias together. That's all of those pieces stuck on, so now I can move this to one side, if I can pick it up. Move it over there. And then bring in one of the big holly pieces and the flower, and we'll see how to assemble these. Start with the holly leaves, and this is 4 layers. And for the dark green leaves on the lighter leaves, I'm going to glue mine. You could use foam, to give it a bit more depth if you want to. But personally, I prefer to use the glue. I just think it looks better because it shows the green through better. If you foam it, then the shadows between the layers can kind of impact that a little bit. And then using a 3D foam pad to stick on the lighter layer of the holly, of the berry. And then some glue to put the other berries on. Like that. And there we go, a bit of holly done. And then there are, I think, 5 of those in total to be stuck on. Now for the poinsettia. And we'll start with the 2 green layers at the bottom. And the green layer, the darker one with the little gaps in the leaves, that'll be glued on. So I'm just using my glue, getting all of these gaps. And if you're using the pre-made design, all of the poinsettias are the same size, so it doesn't matter which bit you put on which flower, they're all going to line up and they're all going to work. And the trickiest bit is getting it the right way round. There we go. Okay, so next we've got the 2 red layers, the biggest piece of red. And for the darker bit, I'm going to turn that upside down and add some foam pads on the back. This is going to start to add some dimension. And you want to add a bit of foam into all of the petals and also some bits in the middle. And the middle bits are important because they give it stability so that the rest of the layers will sit nice and flat on top of it. If you don't put anything in the middle, then it can sag down and it just won't quite look as good. All right, so now I need to get this the right way round, and we're lining it up against what's on the green. So when all of the points of this match the points that's sitting on top of, you know you've got it the right way round. Next is this piece with the holes in the poinsettias, and this one will be glued. I'm just adding my glue, being very quick about this, getting lots of it on my fingers, but never mind. And stick that on top. And then there are 2 more red layers. So the solid one we'll turn upside down again and add some foam on the back. And again, as well as all the petals, we want a couple of bits in the middle to give it that stability. This one's a little bit harder because you only got these little tips to line it up against, but keep sort of twisting it round and eventually you'll see that there is a way where all of those ends line up beautifully. And for the next one, this one will be glued. There we go, lots of glue on there, and then try and line it up. There we go. And then finally we've got the 2 little pieces to go in the middle. And the first one, just put a bit of foam on there, stick it straight to that. It doesn't really matter which way round you put these bits. And then some glue on top. And stick the other bit on and try and line this up so the berries match. And there we go, that is one poinsettia done, and then I've already stuck together the other ones, so it's ready now to put onto the wreath. Here's my wreath base back in, so now I can add the poinsettias to the top. What I'm going to do before I start sticking them is place them all onto the wreath. And that way I know they're all going to fit, because I don't want to start sticking one and then get to the end and find that the last one doesn't fit. So I think I'm happy with how that's looking. And then you can choose to either use glue or foam pads for these poinsettias. I think I'm going to use glue. So I'm just going to go through them one at a time and stick them down. Because I'm not entirely sure which bits will stick over the edge of the base, I'm just going to put my glue in the middle in a bit of a circle and then line them back up and stick it down. And just go through all 5, I think that's 5, all 5 of them. You want quite a bit of glue in that middle as these are heavy with all the different layers of card in them. There we are, all 5 stuck. And next we have the holly with the berries. And just like before, I'm going to place these into the gaps that I've got left to see where I want them to go. And you'll probably find that these are not going to sit level because we've got all the different levels of leaves and holly, not holly, that's what we're doing now, the leaves of the poinsettias and everything like that. So we're going to need to be a little bit clever with these to get them to sit level when we stick them. All right, so that's my rough positioning. And then with the sticking them on, I'm going to use foam pads and then try and stack my foam so that the holly sits flat alongside everything else it's going under. Now this one is actually lovely because that's not going on top of any existing foam. It will fit nicely into that gap. So one piece of foam alongside the back of this bit of holly will be all that I need. I'll bring this back into shot and show you in a moment. This is quite a big wreath, so I'm running out of space. Oh, not put the lid on my glue. Better do that or it will dry out. Okay, so I've got a little bit of foam on there and then I can just stick that in the gap and then that's perfectly flat. However, with this one, because this leaf is going over the poinsettias, which are already raised up with foam, and then this side isn't raised up, it's going to sit not straight on top. And I don't really like how that looks. So I'm going to fix it. So on the holly leaf that's just going to be on the base, I'm going to stack 2 levels of foam pad. So there's my first. And then I'll put another piece directly on top so that there's 2 there. And then on the bits of the poinsettia where this is going to sit, I'll just add 1 piece of foam. And now when I stick this on, it's going to line up because it's now got technically 2 bits of foam here, one under the red layers, one under the green. And then this has got 2 layers under this green. So now it's sitting perfectly flat against everything else. And then I'll do the same thing for the other 3 hollies. Here's my wreath looking completely beautiful. And now we have these little extra pieces of holly. And I've just glued the 2 layers together. And these are really handy for if you've got any places where a lot of your base card is still showing. So for example, here at the top, there's quite a lot of yellow there. So I'll just tuck in one of these bits of holly with some foam pad on the back for a bit of depth. And then just tuck that into the poinsettia to fill up a little bit of the space. And then you don't have to use any of these if you don't want to. You might have filled it, nicely as it is. But a couple of extra bits is always a good thing. Let's go nice and extra on this for Christmas. Okay, one there. And actually, I think that's enough. I don't think I'll add the other 2. But there we go. That is my Christmas poinsettia wreath, all made out of paper, finished and ready to hang up. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to make a layered Christmas wreath made out of paper. This now unfortunately means the Christmas craft countdown for 2021 has come to an end. I've really enjoyed doing all of these projects and I hope you've enjoyed crafting along with me as well. Don't forget to get any of the files, head to craftwithsarah.com/Christmas 2021. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!